Hey there, guys. This is Nate, and welcome to episode 1 of The Benchmark. Joining me today is my good friend Armand of Armandz T3Tock over on YouTube. Link down in the description. How are you doing today, bud?
I'm pretty good. How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good. So, this little video podcast, what have you, um, we're just going to go over some gaming news, some tech news, and give our worthless opinions about it. Okay, so let us move to our first topic brought to us by WCCF Tech, of course. Every article we are going to go over today is actually brought to us by WCCF Tech.
Hey, those guys are monsters. What can I say?
Beast mode.
That's
Okay.
right.
All right, this article by Alessio Palumbo. Shadow of the Tomb Raider won't be announced at E3, but later this year. Okay.
I mean, from everything I understand, that the game was kind of leaked earlier this year or late last year
Yep.
by somebody actually seeing a worker work on it on the subway. So, I mean, what a crazy place to actually get a leak for a game.
Yeah.
But to come for the official announcement, it's it's a little weird that they're going to be skipping E3 as most of the industry gets together. However, it might not make it might not actually be a crazy idea, being that everything kind of jumbles together and nobody really owns the cycle. And being that the rumor in this article, of course, is Crystal Dynamics isn't going to be working on it, and it's going to be Eidos Montreal. That maybe you want to get a little more attention to it, or maybe you're going to do an event for it because it has been a big game for them in their last few outings.
Yeah, that's true. Um, I just find it weird, as we all know, the previous two iterations of the Tomb Raider remake first, well, came to Xbox One. And with the Scorpio coming, one would have thought that that would have probably been a joint announcement. What better way to play such a graphical powerhouse of a game like Tomb Raider than on your new Scorpio?
Now,
Just
correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Eidos? Wait, am I thinking of the right company? Who does, off the top of your head, because I can't think of it, is Deus Ex.
I'm pretty sure it's Eidos Montreal.
So, with some of the performance issues they've had in the last couple of games, do you think that maybe
Hmm.
that's not something that they want to push right to the Scorpio? Maybe give that a little bit longer to bake?
Touche. Yeah, that's a good call. Um, I purchased Deus Ex um, day one, and it was so poorly optimized. At the time, I had a GTX 1080, and boy, that thing even struggled at 1440p. Um, whew, it's just a
Well,
beast of a
I mean,
game, and
I'm sorry, go ahead.
poorly optimized to boot. Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, I mean, even on, so I have a uh, Titan X Pascal or Titan XP, Titan XP Volume 1, or I don't know, Titan X6 2016, I guess is what I am going to call it from now on. Thanks, NVIDIA.
Mm,
I mean, it had some issues. I actually was doing some DX12 testing and I was using that game for it. Um, so with this is before NVIDIA's optimization drivers. I mean, I was getting anywhere between, 35 and 53 frames a second, um, 35 at ultra and 53 at medium for
Mm,
the Titan,
yeah.
and at 4K. So the game is still not really well off, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know. I There could be some stuff behind the curtain that we don't know about, but I do feel like it's probably a missed opportunity for Microsoft at E3 to drop this alongside Scorpio, show it running on Scorpio. Um, yeah, just think it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, there's rumors that there's going to be stuff for Scorpio, and they've got plenty to show. So I mean, maybe this just didn't fit in the game plan.
Very well couldn't have. Moving on to some more Microsoft news. Uh, New Gears of War 4 update offers Win 10 multi GPU support, new maps, and more. Um, this is cool.
Yeah, no, it is. So with Win 10, of course, we have DX12, of course, is exclusive to Windows 10. And GPU support with DX12, of course, has been rather questionable, especially in the multi GPU area. I mean, since I don't run multi GPU at this point, doesn't really affect me here or there. However, if you're out there running two 1080 Ti's, two Titans, if you're, a baller, or
Making it rude.
I mean, or even two 1070s, 1060s. Actually, can you? I think, I guess you can't SLI the 1060 this generation,
No.
or the 60 series. But 1070 and above, this could actually lead to some pretty good performance gains. The only other game that I'm aware of currently that actually takes care of multi GPU support under DX12 is Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I haven't tested that either. Once again, I don't have two cards, although I do have an old 690, so it might be interesting to try and test
Mm,
that, see what happens.
that'll be interesting. Now, as someone who had a brief stint with running multi GPUs, I had two RX 480s, which were very impressive. Um, However, not a lot of titles were taking advantage of multi GPUs, so it's always a hit or miss proposition. Obviously, as everyone knows, your best bet is to go with the best single card that you can afford. That would be the most ideal situation, but um, sometimes you want a little more power. You don't have the money for that brand new card, so you buy one to match your old one.
Oh, of course. I mean, but the other thing that you have to consider here is that, I mean, we're at this time really specifically talking DirectX 12, where there is a lot of multi GPU support issues.
Yes.
I mean, there are really very few games that actually support it at all. And I'm curious if that is due to difficulty with the new API. But of course, you do have DirectX 10. You've got Vulkan. I'm not sure
Yeah.
how well Vulkan actually handles multi GPU support, but I'm assuming that is an option. And then you have Mantle, which I guess has kind of been superseded by Vulkan.
Yeah.
But there
It's
are, of course, I mean, some games that do run the Mantle API and OpenGL. So, I mean, DX12 is really kind of the concern going forward, but the adoption rate has been really low on that. So I don't think we're going to see DirectX 11 and its support going anywhere for quite some time.
Yeah. Well, to kind of touch on a couple of things you just mentioned, um, yeah, DX12 multi GPU support. I actually had to download a beta update to Total War Warhammer, um, and edit a file to get
Oh,
it to
wow.
work. But I did successfully get it to run multi GPU, and it did work. It worked well. But yeah, it's just not implemented in many titles, so just kind of sad. And yeah, maybe there's some
Are,
stuff going on that doesn't play well with DX12.
Early days, my friend, early days.
Exactly. Also touching on Vulcan. Um, I don't know personally. I don't know anything outside of Doom that's using that, and I do know Doom did not take advantage of multi GPUs at that time.
Um, well, I guess we're gonna see. I mean, we do have. I mean, with E3, of course, coming up, we do have some games coming from Bethesda. So, if not now, then we will, I think, see more games run Vulkan eventually.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Any more opinions on the Gears of War 4 update? It looks like they got some new maps coming and things like that.
I'm I've never been a multiplayer guy. I mean, I've always been more single player. I mean, maps are good. I don't really know what the multiplayer community actually looks like on the PC at this point, or
Yeah.
even the consoles for that fact. So I guess I really don't have much else to say here.
Yeah. No. This is some people really love Gears multiplayer. I was actually never one of those guys. I love the single player campaigns. Never got into the multiplayer though, so that's awesome that they're adding some new maps, but
Hey, I mean,
not for me.
if you look at the caption picture, the guy looks like he's dying to play.
Yeah. Oh
Oh,
snap! You're so funny. Oh boy. Okay, so moving on to some more PC related news, and I do have some opinions on this. Prey will run smoothly on PC at launch, according to Arcane's president. Testing efforts doubled. This is news only in the fact that when Dishonored 2 launched on PC, it had some issues. It was not optimized very well. So they probably felt like they had to get out in front of release this time and be like, no, no, PC players, please still buy our game because we're working really hard, you know?
really hard.
Yeah, really super hard. Please buy it. Yeah, so sounds like they're working really hard. One thing to go along with this, I was very interested in this game. Huge Bioshock fan. I did play the original Prey, and this seemed like it might be a cool um, mixing of the two. Um, but what was concerning was there was a demo for the game, and the first hour of the game you could play, which is
Right.
awesome. However, that's only on PS4 and Xbox One, no PC.
That's
And
true.
then
I mean,
then today I see this and I'm like, hmm, is there anything there? Are we reading too much into that? What are your thoughts?
I mean, for a game to even get a demo in this cycle of consoles, it's rare. It doesn't happen that much anymore. I mean, in comparison to the 360 generation or even OG Xbox and PlayStation 2. I mean, we used to have magazines that used to come out. I mean, kids magazines. I don't know if you read them. They come on a newsstand,
What's that?
right? So but they came with discs, and you pop the disc in the system, and you played a bunch of demos. But and with the 360 generation, I mean, every game had a demo. I can't think of any exception to that rule in the 360 generation. There might have been a few, but nothing that stands out off the top of my head. And then this generation, things kind of slowed down. It just kind of stopped. So for them to even come out with a demo, I think is really ballsy. Actually, I I also feel that it's their way to try and get some more exposure. Whereas on the PC, I mean, I don't know if they necessarily need it. I mean, it is pretty close to launch, but who's to say how old this demo build of the game actually is?
Yeah. I can tell you one thing for sure. That demo better not have been optimized for PS4 Pro because it looked like garbage. Um,
Ooh,
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, it
I
was.
haven't played it yet. I haven't even downloaded it yet. I was planning on it.
Yeah, I loaded it up as the first thing I noticed. I was like, ooh, this looks real rough. But I don't think it was optimized for Pro to be fair. I did play Dishonored 2 on PS4 Pro, which was one of the first titles optimized for PS4 Pro, and it did look phenomenal. So I guess I'm not too worried about that. Um, but interesting quote here from this article. I just want to go ahead and read it. That so um, Arcane's president went ahead and said, the real reason why PC games often have problems is because there are so many permutations of hardware. Sometimes it's timing. Drivers come out the same time as our game. Something happens that makes it more challenging. This time we are given what happened with Dishonored 2. We doubled our thoroughness in making sure the game is going to run smoothly. At this point, the game is fully ready, but that's what we've been doing for the past months. A lot of tests on different configurations and making sure it works. So we're pretty confident. You never know, but we're pretty confident.
Oh boy,
Ooh.
that's a loaded gun.
Yeah, I just had to read that because the end was not exactly confidence inspiring now, was it? You never know, but
No,
we're
it's
pretty
true.
confident.
I
Um,
mean, eh, I mean, most likely if they're testing, hey, with RX or not RX, don't want to go there. They're probably testing with Furies, and they're probably testing with R9s, and they're testing
yeah,
with nine series and 10 series. But hey, somebody might come in. I mean, I don't know, somebody with a 5 series Nvidia card and be like, "Hey, I want to play this game." But I mean, at this point, I'd say, dude, upgrade.
yeah,
I mean, especially, I mean, maybe you're running at 1080p and you're okay with that. I mean, which is, I mean, good on you.
yeah,
But I would assume that they're not testing that far back. And I mean, of course, yeah, there's permutations all around. I mean, you have Ryzen chips, you got Intel chips, you got high-end desktop, you got mainstream, you got 8 cores, 10 cores, 4 cores. I mean, I think some people have dual core chips that hyperthread. I don't even know if,
who
well,
knows?
yeah, the Intel Duos. I don't even know if those are even supported anymore.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, and up and down the stack and all around. I mean, so you can't test for everything. It's really a losing game, and it's diminishing returns on your investment because most people are going to have a certain configuration, and that's
right,
what they're going to test for, and
right.
and to make the most possible people happy with the least required investment of resources and time and money.
Absolutely. That's all they got to do is probably give a phone call to Steam and say, hey, uh, what's the report on the most popular hardware, and just kind of go from there.
Right. And I mean, when it comes to drivers, I mean, some companies we've seen have had a lot closer relationship with the driver companies, Nvidia or AMD, than they do with than others do. And
Yeah,
and some will have a closer relationship with one over the other. And of course, when something like that happens, we do see that the company that they have the closer relationship, the cards typically run better on it because that's the way that the game was programmed. So,
yeah. And just to talk about Prey for a minute, I know you didn't play the demo, but I did. Uh, I went into playing the demo wanting to buy this game. I almost pre-ordered it. I came out of the demo, however, um, not looking to buy the game. I don't know what it was that turned me off, really. Um, I think a
da
part of it,
da
I think a part of it was the art style. The art style in Dishonored 2 works really well in that setting, that kind of steampunk fantasy setting. I found it to be charming. In a sci fi setting, I didn't actually feel like it fit. And I think that was a huge turnoff for me. And the other thing that I had a really big problem was the clunkiness of the shooting mechanics. Those little mimic things are really fast, and I'm pretty good at shooters, and I'm like, I've got my pistol, and I'm like shooting all over the place like a madman because these things move so quick. And if that's the way the whole game's gonna be, ugh, I want no part of it.
Well, I guess, I mean, even though I haven't played the game, this is the only thing I can say. So, with a nod and a wink, PC Master Race, this is to you, Sir Mouse and Keyboard.
Yeah, yeah. Seriously, I thought of that because I was going to purchase it. If I was gonna buy it, I was gonna get it on PC, and immediately I thought, God, will this be better on mouse and keyboard? I don't even know it was that bad. That yeah. So Prey, of course, coming out on Friday, actually, May 5th, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. All
Here's to
right.
hoping.
Yeah, well, find out. All right, so move on to some fresh AMD news. Um, AMD CEO confirms Vega launching before the end of June. This has got me really amped. I have no idea why, as I own a GTX 1080 Ti. However, this excites me. It excites me to see AMD compete again in both the CPU and GPU market, and I really hope that Vega is everything that everyone hopes it is.
Well, I mean, so they're saying, hey, we're going to be out by end of Q2. Q2, of course, ends June 30, which, okay, yeah, fine, makes sense. I mean, most likely they're going to make a paper showing at Computex, which runs, I believe, May 30th through June, like 4th or 5th. I know I'm in the ballpark. I might be a little off on some of those dates, but it's soon. It's literally within the next couple weeks. So end of Q2 or by the end of Q2. So yeah, I mean we're already halfway through quarter two. That makes sense. It's coming. As I said, paper launch at Computex. Once again, that kind of makes sense. That is the PC hardware industry big show for the second half of the year. CES, of course, being for the first half of the year. I mean, and it gets it out in time to start getting, hey, they can start wrangling in back to school sales and this, that, and the other. And hey, mom, I'm going off to college. Can I get a new graphics card?
Classic.
And mom's gonna be like, no, you need a TI-83. I mean TI-84. I don't know. Do they even still make this?
But mom, it helps me with my homework.
Right? Helps me with my homework, mom. So I mean, I don't. I mean, that's not surprising really to me at all. I mean, I really feel at this point that's lip service. I mean, I think they could have really said nothing, and nobody would have been surprised if it came out at the end of May. A couple more things that I noticed that they talk about in the article, of course, with just changes that they're doing to this thing and how they're advancing it. It's it looks interesting, but it doesn't seem like it's a big departure, which would take them a lot of extra time to develop and push out the door.
Yeah, I'm still excited. I'm glad it's coming soon. Um,
I'm interested, but I don't know if I'm excited.
yeah, well, that's fair. That's fair. As the man who owns a Titan X, um, Pascal, not the new one, but
Volume 1.
the first one. Nvidia, you're assholes sometimes. Anyway, um, yeah, this is great
Jensen,
news.
send me a card.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But please send me your cards. I'll go ahead and test those for you. No problem.
I might keep them. I no promises.
Yeah, this article is pretty fascinating. Goes into some detail on Vega. I just want it to come out. I want it to come out. I want to see what it's got under the hood. Can it compete with the likes of a 1080, 1080 Ti, possibly a Titan? Is that possible? Well, that leads us to our last topic of the day.
Ugh.
3D Mark Time Spy benchmark of early Radeon RX Vega prototypes leak out. And the results, well, it's not great. Kind of a really disheartening, and wow, kind of was a gut check on this one at the possibility of this under delivering what everyone's expectations are. And I think with them waiting so long to launch this card, they're causing their own hype. They're building their own hype, which they think is good. But if they don't deliver, boy, oh boy, is it going to be a very, very hard fall.
Well, I mean, here's the problem, and some of it is their fault. I mean, if it does not live up to expectations, what they've done is they have come out and say, hey, this is performing better than we think it was going to. We're comparing it against a 1080 Ti. We're comparing it against a Titan X. I'm assuming they mean the new Titan X.
One would assume, yeah.
And with these types of scores, I'm just a little bit scared. I mean, I'm hoping that it is a really early bench that got leaked, and that it was a very early sample, and just different things around the horn. But it does leave you scratching your head that, okay, what's going on here, because this does not sound like the performance numbers I would be expecting on a card that can compete with a Titan. Now, of course, Radeon Group has been known for their wizardry in the past, where two 480s could compete with a 1080. More so when it came to DX12 than DX11, but things were a little close, and I would expect that their wizardry has moved even further along that DX12 path, and the performance in DX12 should be phenomenal. And being that we are looking at a Time Spy score, I'd actually like to remind everybody that Time Spy is a DX12 benchmark.
That is true. That is true. Now, as you can see on the screen here, the graphics score on this said card, we don't know any details on it, was 5,950. Now, to give you all a bit of reference, I have a GTX 1080 Ti, and I will swap over here so you can see my score in Time Spy. As you can see, a graphics score of 9,841. Almost double.
Yeah, almost double.
Wow.
But the one interesting thing that I just noticed is that the date of this test was April 12th. So we're talking
less than a month ago,
about 3 weeks ago. I mean, if it's an early sample, I mean, you can go from early sample to final product in about 2 months. I'm just kind of curious where they were expecting their benchmarks to be at that point. I would be actually interested to see if there are DX11 benchmark numbers floating out there somewhere. I don't think so, because I haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah. Well, again, one takeaway, I guess, would be maybe keep your expectations in check. And
Oh, you should
also,
always keep a check.
also, there's still hope. There's still hope. This could be, like you brought up, an old iteration of this. It could be out of date. This could be a driver it's running on that is so poorly optimized that it is running at almost half the efficiency as it would with a proper driver. Who knows? We just
Oh,
don't know.
this would be running on an engineering driver. I mean, if you look at the score, it's generic VGA.
Right.
It doesn't even identify the card.
Right. So we don't know. We don't know any details. Until it officially comes out, we will never know the answer, I suppose. We could
I
speculate
mean,
all we want.
I would expect here in the next, well, let's see, this is May the 2nd. We're saying Computex is May 30th. So I would say in the next week, 2 weeks, you should definitely see a lot more benchmarks starting to leak, whether it's from production lines or, I mean, Chinese websites. I mean,
Yeah.
you'll see something. I mean,
Eventually, yeah.
it
The
shouldn't be too long now.
closer to launch we get, the more details obviously we'll have. But I'm holding out hope for all those AMD fans out there that this is going to live up to the hype and really compete with NVIDIA on the higher end levels. I really do think that is in the works, and I also think that we might have multiple SKUs of Vega.
Oh,
Um,
I think that's pretty, yeah, I think that's pretty logical.
yeah, because I mean I picture them trying to target the 1070, 1080, 1080 Ti market with these Vega chips. So let's set our expectations around floating around that performance. And like you mentioned with the wizardry that AMD has been able to perform with their 400 series card, now 500 in DX12 titles, like back in the day when I was running those two 480s. Um, at the time, you had a GTX 1080, and we were comparing
Yep.
our Time Spy results, and I was actually beating the 1080. Um, it's
With the
crazy.
240s, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and that was at the time that was for $200 less for two RX 480s than it would have
Yep.
cost for one GTX 1080. So we gotta we gotta keep our heads up here on this news and just kind of take it cautiously optimistic at the future, but kind
Well,
of take this with a
I
grain of
mean,
salt.
since I mean, I've said this for a long time, and I know I've told you this time and time again. My expectation is that Big Vega is going to, sounds like a bouncer, Big Vega. Anyway,
Big Vega,
my
Street
expectation
Fighter.
is that it's going to perform somewhere between a 1080 and a 1080 Ti.
I can see
Now, if
that.
it performs beyond that, I would be pleasantly surprised. But I mean, that's me trying to keep my expectations very conservative.
Right. Yeah. As we all should. Well, guys, that has been episode one, the inaugural episode of the benchmark, with my good buddy Armand from Armandz T3Tock,
Thanks,
and
guys.
we will catch you next time.